I hope it's not too late to do this video. It is currently February 6, 2025. But I wanted to talk about all the books that I gave 5-star ratings to last year of 2024. Going off tangent, I am experimenting right now on my angle, the setting, just trying to figure out when will be the best time that I can record these videos, whether during the day or at night, and just figuring out the angle, because in my last 2 videos, the camera picked up so much background noise or white noise that it was bothering me to the point where like I feel like deleting these videos, but I'm just gonna leave them up and just see how we go from here. Honestly, I'm just filming straight off my camera. I don't have an external mic, and I feel like it picked up a lot of the white noise because the way I put the camera, you guys were a little bit further. Now you guys are up close or closer than the last one. So we're just gonna see, experiment. Right now I'm taking advantage of the decent lighting that I have. My baby is sleeping and my other 2 kids are preoccupied. So mama has some free time to record book content. I feel like I rambled a little bit more than I would have liked, but before we get into all the books that I read, I just wanted to put a disclaimer that when I give books a rating or a 5-star rating, I go based off vibes. I am not very analytical when I give my reviews. I don't look at plot holes, or I'm not over analyzing the book, because when I read, in my opinion, I want to be entertained. I want my mind to drift off into this other world, fictional world. So I give it a 5-star. If I get a physical reaction from the book, whether I'm crying, laughing, or I'm just kicking my feet, I'm gonna give that book a 5-star because I am highly entertained. Okay, safe to say, if I give a book a 5-star rating and you thought it was the boringest piece of fiction you have ever read, I'm sorry. We just had different taste. Regardless, I am so proud of myself. Last year was the first year that I went in a full year of reading, meaning that like I read almost every month of the year, I think, besides November and December, and just that's a whole different story. But I read so much last year. I didn't really keep track. I didn't have a goal in mind. I was just going off vibes. I was like, hey, I finished this book, now I'm gonna pick up another one. And I was surprised at how much I read at the end of the year. And when I counted everything, I was like, man, I read 26 books. That is a lot compared to the previous year where I read 2. With that being said, I read 26 books, and out of those 26, I gave 8 of them a 5-star rating. No particular order. Here are all the books that I gave 5 stars to. First is All That We Are Together by Alex Kellen. I feel like I don't see enough people talking about this book, mentioning this book, or reading this book, and I wish I had more people to talk about when it comes to this book. And I realize why I don't see that many people talking about it. Maybe they are and I'm missing it, but this book was originally published in Spain in 2019, and then of course translated into English. It was published again in English last year of 2024. So that's why I feel like no one really talks about it, because if you look at all the reviews on Goodreads, 90% of it, I want to say, is in Spanish. If you have read this book and you liked it, then you and I, we are best friends. We are one and the same, okay? Anyway, All That We Are Together follows the story of Axel and Leah. This is the second book of the duology, and I feel like I gave this one a 5 based on the events that occurred in the first book. And I don't want to spoil it too much of what happened, but pretty much in the second book, it's 3 years later from the things that happened in the first book. So they haven't seen each other in 3 years, and Axel happens to notice that Leah is having an art exhibit, and come to find out he's having an art exhibit and he actually works with artists and works in an art gallery. Axel convinces Leah that he should be her agent, and when she does finally say yes, they go on this work trip to Paris, and then that's when the story kind of unfolds and all this tension they have between each other and the past that they shared, trying to keep that relationship professional as they're out in Paris doing work. I consider this a slow burn at least in my opinion, because it took so long for them to finally realize and come to terms with their feelings. The character arc of them becoming more mature than compared to how they were and how they acted in the first book, I really appreciate it. And I love how the author still uses analogies of art and color together to describe emotions and the emotions that they were feeling between each other, and how they kind of got together in the first book is a little bit toxic-ish, I would say, but like I was saying, just how they developed and how they matured in the second book, I really appreciated, and I couldn't put this book down. I lost sleep reading this book. Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. This is the first book in the Simple Wild series. I think that's what the series is called. I could be wrong, which I probably am. It's about a big city girl going to a small town and that typical falling in love with the disgruntled, rough around the edges male main character. But not only does she find love, it's her rekindling her relationship with her estranged father. I love this book because it had family drama, it had self-discovery, whether or not she really liked all these superficial things that she had in Toronto versus living a simple life out in Alaska. This book made me cry just because of the relationship that she has with her father, because I have a close relationship with my dad, so just what you read in the book and how their relationship unfolds and what you end up discovering between them. I cried because it was a beautiful story, and I love how the author really had those side characters, important conversations with the main female character, Kala, and that helped to develop her character in a sense and helped her see things differently versus like her thinking, oh, this is a small town, like there's nothing to do, eventually appreciating the life that they all live in Alaska. Running Wild by K.A. Tucker. Now this is the third book in the series of the Simple Wild series, and this follows the story of Marie and Tyler. Marie is actually Jonah's best friend, and Jonah is the male main character in The Simple Wild. Now, I will say, every time this chick was mentioned in the first book and the second book, because the first and second book follow Jonah and Kala, I did not like her. She was scheming to take Jonah from Kala. Now, not in oblivious ways, but like kind of like side-eyeing them, making like little notes and like just like, yeah, he's just my best friend. But I was like, no, I don't like that. Marie was about to catch these hands. I'm so glad Marie got her own book. Reading her story and her background, you end up falling in love with Marie, and I think that's why I gave that one a 5 stars, because I didn't like her in the books in the first two, and then when she gets her own, you're like, oh my god, I feel so sorry for her, and she deserves love just like anyone else. Like I was saying, this story follows Marie and Tyler. Marie is actually a vet, and she's like in her mid-30s. She's single. She was criticized because she was actually engaged prior. She broke it off because she had feelings for Jonah. And of course, Jonah did not reciprocate those feelings, so she was criticized. She was kind of made fun of, like, hey, you broke off this engagement for what? And obviously her family just let her forget it, because she does have 2 other sisters. I think she might be the oldest, I forgot, or the middle. I think she might be the oldest. So they're hounding her on, hey, you're getting older, your biological clock is ticking. And when I was reading, I was like, that's messed up. You're her sister, you're her family. You should not be pressuring her like that at all. And you just feel bad for her because she feels like, I'm never gonna find anybody, I'm never gonna find love, I'm just gonna get turned down over and over and over again. When Tyler moves into town, he is a professional musher who is in the Iditarod, if I'm saying that correctly. If you don't know what the Iditarod is, if you didn't watch Balto in the 90s, then maybe I am too old to. He's one of the vets in that race, and their first interaction with each other was very hostile. They did not like each other, and she was like, hey, I care about these dogs, and I feel like you're pushing them too hard. And he's like, I know my dogs and I'm not pushing them that hard. So after that happens, it's a whole like miscommunication where like he thinks he's abusing the dogs, but he's really not, and then he ends up hiring her as his dog's vet. And then kind of where that story will continue is that they have these little interactions and the backstory on why he is the way he is, why he's more silent, why he's to himself. And she's starting to develop feelings for him, but she's trying to cap it and put it back in her little box. He's giving her signals, but it's also like a little bit of a mixed signal. But I'm glad Marie got her own story, and I'm glad I ended up liking her in the end. Reckless by Elsie Silver. I thought this was so good. I read Powerless and then I read Reckless, and comparing the two out of the series, because I've only read the 2 out of the 5, I enjoyed seeing Winter change and her personality change from this cold person to someone who was opening up and warm throughout the book. And just the relationship between the two, like, I really enjoyed it. I know a lot of people thought that she was annoying and that she wasn't opening up or trying when Theo came back into her life. But overall, I really liked it. If you don't like the pregnancy trope, which I don't know why people don't like that. Maybe because I've been pregnant before and I loved when my husband was like catering to me and like just loving on me. Like, I don't know why people don't like that. also just every time he kept calling her by her nickname, I was just like, ah. I was like kicking and screaming every time I read that. The next two books are by Ana Huang, King of Pride and King of Greed. And if you don't know, Ana Huang is one of my favorite authors ever. I don't know if you can see her books up here on my shelf. I probably gave her 5 stars because I'm just biased, and just don't listen to this if you really don't like her books. Just take what I say with a grain of salt because I just love her books. I devour them every single time. They're always so good to me. I know what to expect, but it's like there's always something. She puts something in her books. I don't know what it is. But every single time I am hooked. Anyway, King of Pride follows Kai and Isabella. They're opposites attract. Forbidden romance because she is a bartender at the exclusive club that he's a member of. So technically they should not be fraternizing. They shouldn't have any outside relationship, but they do. They end up, more so him, he ends up falling pretty hard for her, and they couldn't be more opposite because she is a bartender and he is a billionaire CEO who runs a media empire, and he cares about his image, he cares about how he looks, he cares about what people say about him. On the other hand, Isabella has no filter. She's loud, she's spunky, she has purple hair, and she will really say what's on the top of her head. Like, she just doesn't really care. And I love the storyline between them, the backstory between the two that ends up coming together, kind of doing like a full circle in the end of the book. It was a good book, billionaire romance, opposite attract, and just overall it was good. King of Greed, I think so far this one is my favorite out of the King of Sin series that she has come out with, because she's come out with 4. The 5th one will come out in April, but this one I think is my favorite because it's a little different than the other books that she's had. It's a second chance romance between Dominic and Alessandra Davenport. They are a married couple who's going through a divorce, so it's that whole second chance thing. But I love how she goes back into the past. I love this book a lot because the style was a little bit different, just because we had to jump back from the past to present to show exactly how the two main characters, how their relationship developed, and important parts in their relationship, what made them fall in love, and significant moments in their life, and then also like what led up to them having a divorce and then their current situation now and how they'll fall back in love. The writing was well done in my opinion. But then again, she's my favorite author, so like I said, take my review with a grain of salt. If you don't like it, sorry. Eyes Turn Skyward by Rebecca Yarros. I know Rebecca Yarros has been trending and viral for her Empyrean series, Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and Onyx Storm that came out last month. I want you guys to read her Flight and Glory series. That's a contemporary romance series. It's interconnected. It's a military theme, and I gave this one, Eyes Turn Skyward, a 5. It's just the amount of drama that was in this book, some of the secrets that were kept with of the family of the FMC. Drama in this book was just really good, and the drama in the last 3 books, or the last 2 books that I read in this series, was overall really good. This is where I realized where I like the microtrope of where the FMC can't swim. I don't know what it is. Don't ask me. I don't know what it is. I just like when the FMC can't swim and the MMC is there to help her swim. Oh, I will read it over and over and over again. I realize I really like that trope. I think it's because when they're not together and they're not in a relationship and he's helping her swim, very intimate, very close, and they have to like force themselves to be comfortable with each other in kind of an uncomfortable situation, especially if they're not in a relationship. After reading this book, I was like, I know where I read that before, Twisted Love, and I read it here in Eyes Turn Skyward, and I absolutely love it. So if you know any other books where the FMC can't swim, send it my way, please. Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. It's the first book I ever read from her. I loved how she highlighted mental health, and some people said it was a little overdone, but I don't know, I appreciate that the mental health of the main character. He mentioned where he takes antidepressants or anti-anxiety medication, something like that. But the fact that it's noted in the book that he does suffer from that, that's why his social interactions with her can be a little bit off. This book, honestly, parts that were funny in this book, I laughed so hard. My husband was looking at me like I was going crazy because he's like, why are you laughing? And it's like hard to explain that to somebody who doesn't read a book. And I was just like, oh, I read something. He's like just looking at me like, okay. I love when authors write characters where one of them comes from like a really large happy family and the other one comes from kind of like a dysfunctional, like kind of slightly messed up family, and they come together and then they see like how the other lives. And that's exactly what happened in Yours Truly. And I always love that kind of dynamic between the two, because it's like it's appreciating each other for who you are, but also where you came from and how you grew up. So those are the 8 books that I read last year that I gave 5 stars to. I hope I projected what I wanted to say well enough. It's hard, I feel like, trying to do this whole booktube thing to express how I feel and want to say in understandable sentences without rambling or saying too much or other filler words. I'm trying really hard to evoke that. I talk to elementary school children all day, which are my kids, and you know, it's just, I try so hard, and I hope what I was saying, you can understand where I'm coming from. You understand the gist of the book or the summary of the book without me spoiling it for you. So I hope I did well. I'm still trying to do a little bit better. You can always do 1% better every single day. So trying hard to do that. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you stayed to the very end, thank you so much for your patience. I really appreciate it with the bottom of my heart. What are your 5-star reads? Did you have the same 5-star reads I did? Let me know. I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below, okay? All right, bye.